On to another year.
Another year.
Thank you very much for sitting down with me.
Always my pleasure.
And we will start with the elephant in the room, the incident Monday at McKinley, and the question of safety in schools. Tell me what you know about that incident, and the biggest question is how the knife actually got in.
Yeah. So I want to start by just saying that, all of our hearts go out to the young man, to his family, and certainly to the entire learning community at McKinley. I've spoken with the family of the young man, and thankfully he's healing. What I can share that I do know is that it resulted in something that started back in the summer. It started in the community. But like what often happens, things that start in the community sometimes spill over, into the school. As far as how the weapon got into the school, if it did come into the school, as you know, McKinley is a career and technical education school, yes. So they've got all kinds of programs over at the school. They have all kinds of things, programs at the school. So, could it be something that was already at the school? Possibly, we don't know, but it's under investigation. We certainly are leaving no stone unturned. We don't condone violence at all, and so we're fully cooperating with the Buffalo Police, and they're looking at the cameras to see when did the student come into the building and tracking, all day to see, what happened.
Right. And just today, you're talking about things outside of the buildings coming inside. Buffalo Police were able to head off a threat before it got into the schools. Tell me about that and what you know.
Yeah. Thankfully, the Buffalo Police Department has really been our partner. We work hand in hand. I work very closely with Commissioner Gramalia and his team. The district pays for a chief of police. We have SROs, in our schools. And so what I understand happened today is that there are two young people that may have made some threats, and the police is investigating that. It's my understanding that, they were arrested. There will be a press conference on that later on this afternoon, but it is an active investigation with the police department.
Yeah, the system worked apparently, that they were able to head off a threat because of what they saw on social media. Yes. What message do you have for parents who, and this is one of those things where you get commentary from outside of the district too. The message to not only parents, but all of Western New York about the state of Buffalo schools and the safety and security in Buffalo schools.
Yeah, Buffalo schools, are safe. We've got 60 schools and we've got 30,000 plus children that, we educate and we work with and we care about every day. And sometimes you get one or two where something like this happens and it paints, a cloud over things. But 99.8% of our kids come to school every day ready to learn. And I just want to reassure parents that, our teachers care about the children, that all of our schools have SST. We call them SST. It's a student support team. There are people there that they can talk to. We have social workers, psychologists, school counselors. We've got partners. We've expanded partnerships with folks like the Peacemakers, who are considered credible messengers in the neighborhoods. And so the kids, every 10 steps, there is an adult that they can talk to. And so if parents notice things like, their children may be quieter than normal, or they're on social media an awful lot, they've got to talk to their children. They've got to monitor what's happening and partner with us. Let the principals know, let the school counselors know, because we want to intervene proactively and get some help. Our children are coming out of a pandemic, and I think everyone has changed from the pandemic, and certainly our children who experienced isolation and grief and depression, and they're going through a lot, and we want to help them through it, but we need for parents to help us to help them.
Right. last year, first full year at the helm. What did you learn last year? That's out of the way, yeah. What did you learn last year that you're taking into this year?
Oh boy, you know, last year was a whirlwind. It really was a whirlwind. We were experiencing busing issues. If you remember, that was a big part of our conversation.
That's great. Didn't hear anything about that this year. So.
Yeah, we're gonna knock on wood. You know, we implemented a 3-tier bell schedule, which was real innovative. You know, it was really out of the box. It required our unions to approve it. We had to do a lot of work with the community and our parents, and everyone had to get on board. And I'm thankful that it's working fine. It allows the children to have more time in the classrooms. There are fewer children on the buses. They're not on buses as long as they were. And what I'm most excited about is that we can implement our after-school programs again for all children. So that's exciting for me. So, you know, it's almost like there's always a tale of two cities, because last year we also had a $90 million deficit that we had to deal with due to the ending of the ARP ESSER funds. And so, you know, that was a challenge. That was quite something. But the way that we handled it is that we got ahead of it, and we wanted to let everyone know early on what we were facing. We engaged, again, the community. And I even went out and did a little student tour, because, you know, that's the group that nobody ever asked, you know, what do you think? What's really important in your schools that you need to keep? You ask the question and the kids have answers.
Really? Kids have answers? Oh, yeah. Kids will talk?
Oh, yeah. Kids will talk if we listen, we listen. And so we were able to do that, prioritizing some of the things that I've said since day one would be priorities for me, like security. So we didn't lose any of our security staff. We didn't lose any of our student support staff, because we know that our children need people to talk to in schools. So that was another, you know, a little bit of a challenge. I'm just trying to think of some of the things that, you know, we experienced last year. The board entered into an agreement with a group called the Council of Great City Schools, and they set these goals for the school district, for ELA and for math. And I've been pretty transparent that I want all of our third graders leaving third grade reading on grade level. It's really important, because up to third grade, you're really learning to read. But after third grade, you're reading to learn. And so you got to be able to read. And I know that down the line, that's going to help us with graduation rates and all of those things. So that's a really important grade. And the board, you know, gave me the expectation that we would increase our ELA and our math scores. And, you know, I thought to myself, oh boy, you know, because this was a group of children that, you know, were pre-Kers when the pandemic hit. And so they lost a lot of time with their foundational skills. And, you know, I said it at my State of the Schools, and I've been saying it since. If you've ever tried to teach, you know, a 4 or 5-year-old phonics how to pronunciate words with a mask on, it's almost impossible, because they're watching your lips and they're watching the way your mouth moves, and they're emulating that. So I knew that this was a group that would be tough to move academically. We have an assessment that we use called DIBELS, and it measures kids in reading and their foundational skills. And in 2023, they ended the year scoring at 33%. And the board said, well, you know, what if we stretch that and we say that in 2024, they'll end at 39%. And I thought, okay, I'm up to the challenge. We'll get it done. Well, they ended the year at 40%. So I was thrilled. And then in math, you know, they ended in 2023 at 13%. And it brought tears to my eyes. And the board said, well, you know, mathematics is one of those, you know, core subjects that's a little challenging, but if we can start improving them and we can get them to 15% by the end of the year in 2024, we're making progress. We ended the year at 21%. So I am super psyched, and we're going to build on that. And these are the skills that will help them as they're sitting for New York State assessments, because now they have the foundational skills that they need. So we spent a lot of time, you know, making sure that our teachers had training, making sure that parents knew. We celebrated all of the little wins that we were getting all year because teachers were progress monitoring them every couple of weeks to see, are you progressing? During, you know, winter breaks, we were sending home things for parents to work on with their children, and this was the result. So, you know, we had a good year last year. There are still some things that, you know, this year I'm going to be focusing a little more on working with my parents. I've got to get, you know, my parents on board. I think that, you know, one of the things that I believe is that, you know, sometimes our children, we talked earlier about some of the issues, you know, experience things like anxiety and anger when, you know, parents are exhibiting those kinds of behaviors.
Yeah, they're little mirrors.
You know, they're little mirrors. They're little sponges. And so, you know, I'm going to be working with parents to have them work a little closer with the schools. We all want the same thing. You know, we want the children to be successful. And, you know, I understand sometimes that, you know, there may be disagreements on how things are happening, or parents want to see something happen. But what I'm finding is that when they understand that at the end of the day, I want the same thing for your child that you do. And our mission is to help children graduate high school, college and career ready. That's what we want, ready for the world. And in the world, you can't just do what you want to do. I mean, you know, because I'm running late doesn't give me the okay to pass by a stop sign. You know, there are rules. And so with our families, we're going to be doing a lot of work with families this year.
How big of an advantage was it going into this year? Because last year, you mentioned the busing issue. There was also issues at All High Stadium that a lot of the things that you had forced to deal with, you had to deal with reactively. And this year, you were able to get ahead of things and approach some of the issues from last year proactively. How big of an advantage is that going into your second year from that perspective?
It's a huge advantage. I can remember when I first sat in this seat for the, you know, I stretched it out as long as I could. You know, I've only been here 30 days. I've only been here 60 days, only been here 90 days. And then I thought, okay, I got to own it. It's mine. Yeah. And, you know, it's a huge advantage. You know, another advantage is that I know Buffalo Public Schools. I've been around Buffalo Public Schools almost my entire life, since kindergarten as a student. And so it's one thing to be a student, you know, in a district, and then to rise through the ranks all the way up, doing almost every job in the district. So I did have that advantage, and certainly this year, you know, it was my mission to start the year off on a positive note. And, you know, the spectator issues at football and basketball games are not a nuance to Buffalo, certainly. It happens everywhere. But I wanted to get ahead of it. I wanted families to be able to come to games and enjoy. I think we got a big game tonight, I'm told. I don't know, Buffalo Bills in Miami, go Bills. You know, but I know that, you know, sports events, you know, people's emotions tend to get, you know, increased. You've got, you know, hundreds of spectators there, and, you know, you've got some opposing team spectators and home team spectators, and things can escalate really, really quickly. And so last year, you're absolutely right. It was a very quick turnaround reactive move that we implemented, asking parents or responsible adults to please come to the games with their children to help keep it positive, keep it great, keep it happy. You know, family events. This year, we proactively put that measure in place, and a few other little things. You know, we don't want folks coming in and out of games. If you're in, stay in and enjoy. We will have our Evolve scanners there. Everyone, even myself, when I go to the games, I'm walking through. You know, so everyone has to go through security checks when they come to the games. We will have security that will be doing perimeter sweeps, you know, just to make sure that everything outside of the game is okay, at the concession stands, outside of the game, around the game, all of that. And for this year, we're going to be paying attention to where folks sit. And so we want to allow our visitors to be able to cheer their teams on, you know, in a healthy
From afar, from the
from
parking
afar.
lot.
Sure. Well, I mean, at least from the left side of the stadium. So we'll be paying attention to that.
Yeah, sure.
But it's all really designed to, you know, keep the school spirit going and to just have safe, good, clean fun.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed over the recent years is when we went to school, it was Riverside against Performing Arts, against Touchdown, a lot of individual entities. That pride's still there, but there is an effort to brand Buffalo Schools as one, as far as the one Buffalo school color. I see everything branded with the blue, and that's why I wear the blue tie.
Is that right?
So,
That's why I wear blue tie.
there you go.
But, yeah.
But how big of an advantage is it in getting kids greater exposure to academic opportunities, athletic opportunities, when you're branding the strengths of many as one?
Branding is really important, you know. One of the smartest things I did was to hire a gentleman, and you know, he's going to get me for saying this, but he's my PR executive, Jeff Hammond. He is really, really excellent at that. That branding piece brings pride. It cultivates trust in the community, and we've paid attention to it. So we do a lot of things to really kind of bring that hashtag BPS strong. You know, we're all family. We created the one mission, one vision, one voice mantra. We all speak with the same voice. It's something that, you know, when I went out and I did my community listening tour early on in my interim days, I heard from the community, you know, that there was not a lot of trust in what was happening in Buffalo schools. They didn't see enough positive things that were going on within our schools. And so we've got billboards and we do radio shows. And whenever I have opportunities like this, thank you so much, to lift up, you know, the great things that happen in our schools. I do a little Wednesday with Williams, you know, that was one of the, again, the brainchild of, you know, my PR director, that I would do Wednesday with Williams. And, you know, you don't realize how it takes storm until one day you're, you know, at Wegmans and you see a child that's maybe, you know, 10 or 11. And they, oh my goodness, I think I know you. I saw you on a billboard. Or, you know, I think I know you, Wednesday with Williams. And so I really am trying to do a lot to get the word out that Buffalo schools are, you know, it's a great place to educate your children. I believe you're an alumni of a Buffalo school.
Very proud alum.
All right.
Class 83.
All right, 82. You know, it's got a rich history, and it's just, you know, I love my job. I love Buffalo Public Schools. And, you know, we just want parents to know that there are so many great things happening, the diversity of programs that we offer, the diversity of children that we have in our district. It's a great place to be.